it's Dia. Today I'm going to take this picture from my coloring book, the Buns, and I'm going to do the background to make it look like Van Gogh's Starry Night. So let's get started. Starry Night is an oil painting on canvas by Dutch post-impressionist painter Vincent van Gogh. And it's been in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City since 1941. Lucky for us who live nearby. It's one of the most recognized paintings in the world, and it's also my personal favorite painting. And today I'm going to humbly try to create with pencils a semblance of color and light that might look similar and resemble this gorgeous painting. So for those of you who are interested, I grabbed all the blues, yellows, and golds, and a brown and a black from the Crayola Twistables set and the Prismacolor set. So cross your fingers because here we go. So as you can see, there's not enough room. There's not the big open space of Starry Night in this image. In fact, there's a lot of bunnies and clouds flying around, but I'm still going to try to recreate. So what I'm going to do first is grab a light Prismacolor in Blue Lake, and I'm going to form that swirl in the background. I'm not going to worry too much about this being perfect right now because there's going to be a lot of colors that go over. Now, this would also go in this direction, but it's behind the cloud. So I'm going to leave the clouds opaque. I'll probably color those a different color so they contrast. And I'm going to do that swirl that's depicted in the picture. The swirl is a light bluish. And then around the swirl, this is another color, sorry. This is blue slate. And I'm not being too fussy at this point. Sorry for the noise, I'm just spreading out the color so I can see what I have. Oh, what I was saying is I'm not being too fussy about the lines or the details at this point because there's going to be darker colors that go over it. There's another swirl that comes in this direction, but I think it'll just be too fussy, so I'm just going to basically leave the one swirl. I think you'll get an idea. Well, hopefully you'll get an idea that it's Starry Night as we go along, or it looks like Starry Night. Now, what I'm doing right now is just sort of forming the spaces and the colors that I'll be using. There's a moon in this picture. Anyway, what I was saying, I'm just sort of laying out where everything is going to be. The moon in this picture is very bright. It has some alternate colors in it, meaning like little details, but for the most part it is a blazing yellow. We'll get to that later. Now around the outside of the moon there's like a glowy effect. So I'm going to start with the lightest one, the lightest pencil possible. And go over the areas that didn't quite get filled in with this Crayola color, which is very fluorescent. Now, around the outside of the moon, oops, there will be dark, but there'll also be a fade effect. And for the most part, that'll be done with lines and little details, like I'm doing right now. Doesn't look like much at this moment. I'm going to take a little bit of the Crayola blue. You know what, this is a little too aqua, so I'm not going to use that one there. I'm going to go back to the slate. And start to really roughly fill in some areas. And I'm doing these jaggedy sort of fill-in lines on purpose. I'm not going in circles, because if you look at that painting, it looks like there's dozens, well, not dozens, hundreds and hundreds of paint strokes going in the direction of the swirls or the light. Oh, you know what? Before I fill the whole thing in, I'm going to draw some. Nope, not with that one. I'm going to draw some stars. Let's see, it's a real bright yellow. I probably should have done one right over here, but let's see, is it too late? Maybe not. Let's do one right here. Okay, that's good. And then we'll go around the outside with a glowy kind of orange color. And some of these have a little dot in the center that's actually darker or almost red. Let me see if I can get a more orangey red. Let's see. This one is Blue Violet Lake. Canary Yellow. I'm kind of haphazardly grabbing. Because no matter what I do here, it's not going to be as beautiful as the original, and that's fine. Some of these almost look like they have a little bit, whoops, they have a little bit of like an alien green in there. The end, I think I'm going to use some white over the top of everything, because some of the stars in the original picture have like a glowing white perimeter, so I'm going to add that too and see what that ends up looking like. I also think I'm going to do a more neat and deliberate version of this. I'm just trying to see if we can recreate this for a fun background. Well, okay, so the shapes are basically there. I need a very, oh, here we go, a light powdery blue. Oh, and it's called powder blue. I'm still trying to go in the shape that the swirl would follow in the original picture. And please don't worry about using a picture to follow. I personally think one of the best ways to learn is to copy something over and over and over. You can even trace. I mean, I wouldn't trace if it's going to be an original picture, of course, because you're trying to create something, but when you're trying to learn, it's such a good thing, because just like anything, like when you're doing a musical instrument, it gets down to the point of muscle memory. Sometimes you just automatically start to know how to do something because you've done it over and over and over again. So definitely get a picture. Learn from the masters. There are no better teachers. I'm going to go in the opposite direction now just to fill in the areas that still have white. But I'm going to go very light. And I might just leave that alone, meaning I'm not going to go in the opposite direction with this on that area. When I was first doing this image, I had the impression in my head that this was during the day, but for the sake of this, it's obviously a starry, starry night. Now I'm going to start to do the details a little more carefully, because now that I laid down the base, I actually want it to start to look like the picture. I'm pushing a little harder now. Because I do have more of an idea of where the shapes start and end. I was going to say finish, but there's a whole lot more to do. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, the swirl area. Let's see. Cobalt blue hue. Let's go a little bit darker. Oop, pushing very hard here. the light and making this part of it look like it's swirling into this part. Let's add some violet. I don't love it. China blue. You know what? I think I'm going to color some parts of this background in the China blue so this looks a little bit darker and more intense than the area in that swirl. And I will get a little more detail-y around the bunnies and the parachutes later. Now, in my head, when I started this, I wanted to keep this all in real time because even though this is a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on in this picture. There's a lot of lines and there's a lot of detail. I wanted to leave it in real time because I wanted to see if I could actually get this done for you and actually get it done in a timely fashion. So it didn't take, 5 days to create this painting and then you would look at it and not that I'm doing the painting, this image, and then you look at it and say, oh, forget it. It took way too long to do that. This is Imperial Violet. This is actually really fun and relaxing. I think part of the reason it's so fun is that, as you can tell, I'm not trying to make this perfect. Whoops, let me readjust this a little bit. Okay, let's grab a black. Ooh, this is blue indigo. That might even be just as good. And I'll put some dark areas where they were or where they are in the actual painting. I'm sorry, I get distracted and I start to not finish sentences because I'm just, first of all, it's my favorite painting. And Second of all these things start to go through my head. Ooh, is that the right color? Ooh, should I be changing it? Is that what it should look like? Is this working out at all? Should I continue? Now, interestingly enough, there is some yellow in the center of this swirl, kind of like the clouds are reflecting the stars. There is really something magical about this painting, meaning the original. I am looking at the reference picture and it just completely takes me to another place. It's kind of a sad story attached to this. He painted this. It's a view out of his window when he was in an asylum, and makes me very sad because he was so talented and so amazing, but he had his personal demons, and he painted this from that room. And if you look at the picture, there's mountains in the background, there's what I think is some kind of beautiful tree in the front, but it's depicted in shadow, and then at the bottom it's a village. And I don't actually know if that village existed there, meaning if he could look out that window and see it, or if that was something that he had in his head as an ideal, what he wished was there. So when I'm looking at the painting, I try not to think of all that, because it is kind of sad, because this painting is beautiful. Now obviously this isn't anywhere near as beautiful as Starry Night, but it's kind of fun. And interesting to create something like this from such a beautiful picture, because it gives you really good ideas of what you can do. There would be some moonlight heading out in this direction, so draw some little rogue moonbeams out there. He has some browns in here that I really didn't even notice until today. I'm going to add them, because who am I to question Van Gogh? And of course, it made it better. He has a little bit of these shadows and lights near the moon, and I think my moon needs to be a little bit more orange to make it more like his. It's a little more yellow and bright. And now go over that yellow with some of the night sky colors. I'm leaving too much white in the background, so I'll go over that. As I'm doing this, I'm looking at the umbrellas and I'm thinking I should probably figure a way to make it look like some of the moonlight and the starlight is reflecting off of them. You know what, as I'm looking at this is too much of a perfect line. So I'm going to incorporate some of the dark in there so you can't tell so much that it's where I made the original kind of line of demarcation where that swirl was going to be. Now, I don't know if this is going to come out great or not so great, but I'm telling you, this was worth it just because I feel like I got to study his work a little bit more. Let's see. Now, in the beginning, I thought that I was going to be using the Crayolas more, but the Prismas have such, well, not such, so many colors that are depicted in these in this picture that it's just really easy to continue using them. This color is Blue Lake that I'm using right now. Okay, I like it better now that most of the background is covered and there's not as much white showing. It looks more like the picture, meaning the original Van Gogh picture. Okay, let's get some darker colors. part of the painting and the bottom part of the painting where it meets with the village, where the sky meets the village and the mountains, is darker and more intense and more purple, so that's what I'm going to do here also. Yikes, this is really fun. I hope you guys try this. And it doesn't have to be on any of my pictures, any one of your coloring pages or anything that you draw. This is really, really interesting. It's also a very cool lesson in color theory. Kind of see what makes things look darker, what makes things look lighter. I wonder if I take an eraser and erase some of these darker lines that I really didn't love, if I could get that to integrate a little bit better, and I can. So once again, mistakes happen, so don't worry about them too much, especially when you're coloring. Whoops, let me readjust that. Because maybe you could turn it into something else. And I know I've said this endless times before in these videos, but sometimes the mistakes open something up to let you try something new. I still think that the areas up on top need more intensity. This is cerulean blue. Now my edges here are not perfect, and that's okay. It's coloring. I think this is one of those things, this kind of drawing, and I'm even daring to guess his painting. Like, you could just keep on doing it and doing it, especially with oil paint, because you can add and add layer after layer after layer. You can just do it until you feel like you're done. You want to add, you want to take away, you want to add light, it's fine. I think at the end, as I look at his reference picture, I'm going to add some areas of black, which I haven't done yet. I thought that that very dark indigo blue would be enough, but as I look at his picture, that black still stands out, so I am going to add it. the more lines and texture that I add here, surprisingly, the less busy it looks. When I just started in the beginning, I was thinking, this might not work. But you just keep on going, and those layers build and build and build. The white goes away, obviously, except for the clouds. There's a little bit in that swirl in the center. Pretty neat. Ooh, I'm so glad this painting by Van Gogh exists. So now I'm looking at the clouds and I'm looking at the parachutes, and I want to color them something, but I'm not quite sure what, so we'll tackle that later. Now here's light sky blue. I'm going to add some of this super light, cool blue color to this area around the moon. Like the night sky's just barely creeping in there. What's this? Mediterranean blue. A little bit more night sky in there. Goldenrod. It's so cool and crazy how he saw all this. All right, let's grab the black. I could literally do this all day. And I'm going to try to put the black in the areas that he had it in the picture. And in the way he did it. In the picture, the star would be here, but I had to move it over a little bit. So I'm going to put the black as if the star was there, and then just add it right here where the second star would be. Now these black pieces over here are more far apart and a little bit thicker, so I'm going to do what he did also. He's got some dark ones. He's got a little bit of a direction change right there depicted by the black, so I'm going to add that. I was afraid to add the black, but I like it. Oh, there's black over here. Bunnies and clouds in the way. That's okay. some black over here. A little bit of black over here. This actually needs some more. I'm going to use cobalt blue hue for the background. I got that one in the cloud a little bit, but that's okay. That one also almost has like a sea green in there. Over here, let's see. Cover up those white areas with this very odd choice of color, in my opinion, for a night sky, but of course it works. You know what? It almost looks like there's stars in the distance now with that color. That's crazy. There's a little bit of that green in here too. Yeesh, this is one of those pictures that you just keep discovering things. I'm also, by default, learning color theory by accident. It's nuts, because if you look at this picture and you're not really trying to pick it apart or figure anything out about it, it just looks blue or almost purple blue. I never thought I'd be using this color. And then over here, it kind of jumps to that sky blue. Whoops, I picked up the wrong color. There it goes. There we go. Did I just say where it go? Where did it go? Another example of me getting lost in one of these pictures. Let's see. Oop, there's some black down here. No surprise. Couple over here. I've also kind of got that song in my head, Vincent. If you've never heard that song, look it up. It's the story of Vincent van Gogh. Also a little sad. So, just a little warning. Although, kind of suits the image. All right, are we missing any colors? Let's see. Do I need to blend this? Oh, you know what I think we need a little bit? In here. A little bit more purple. Well, cobalt blue hue. And I do think, let's see what the ultramarine. This ended up to be much longer than I thought, and for anybody who stuck with me, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you, because this was super fun. and really interesting. For me, anyway. I hope it was for you too. So, many moons later, I'm still making lines. And I wish that I could see all of the pictures that you all end up doing. And I know that if you're a member of my group, you can show me, or you can send it to me by email, and I will leave my email below if you like, because I love to see all the images that you come up with. So that's it for now. And yes, I will do the parachutes, but that's going to make the video way too long. So for now, we just have the Starry Night background. Okay, so I ended up coloring in the clouds and the parachutes, and I used the colors Spring Green for the inside of some of the parachutes, Parma Violet, these are Prismacolors. I made the bottoms of the clouds darker, so it kind of looked like there was a little bit of moonlight shining on the top, and the moonlight color that I used on the top was lemon yellow. I didn't do too much because I didn't want it to interfere with the background. I accidentally used the Gogh color number 74 that I think was sitting in my Prismacolor set by accident. I was trying to do too much. Light aqua, also on the insides of the parachutes. Hot pink, the bigger clouds. Neon orange, the parachutes. Chartreuse, also some of the insides of the parachutes. I can't tell which is which at this point. And lilac, some of the clouds. So that's it for now. What ended up to be a Crayola review ended up to be a Van Gogh background. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you had a lot of fun too. If you want to see me recreate any pictures in the background or even in the foreground, please feel free to tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much once again. I love that you're all here with me, and I love doing these videos for you. So I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.